Hello, this is Jennifer Martinez. In this video, we're going to find the cosine of the sum and difference of the following homework question. It says use the cosine of a sum and a cosine of a difference, identities, which are, by the way, are listed on the right, to find cosine of s plus t and cosine of s minus t, given that cosine of s equals 4/5 and sine of t is 1/5, and s and t are both in quadrant 1. So the first one I'm going to do is find the cosine of s plus t. And you see from the formula, we know that cosine of a plus b from the book is equal to cosine of a cosine of b minus sine of a sine of b. That is the formula. So let's write that down using s's and t's. Okay, and I see what the question is here because I can just plug in cosine of s. Oh, but I do not know what cosine of t is. Sine of t I can plug in, so I need to find these two. What is cosine of t and sine of s? Well, I'm going to use my pictures to find this. So let's look for cosine of t first. So cosine of t, we know that s and t are both in quadrant 1, and we know what sine of t is. We know sine of t is 1/5. So that we know is opposite over hypotenuse, or y over r. So we know the y is 1 and the r is 5. So we can actually now find what x is by using the Pythagorean theorem, and then you can find out what cosine is. So what's the Pythagorean theorem? X squared plus y squared equals r squared. Plugging that in, I get x squared plus 1 equals 25. Or x squared equals 24, or x equals the square root of 24. So that's what that is. And by the way, you can rationalize that because that's like 4 times 6. So that would be the same thing as 2 square root of 6. So now we know what cosine of t is. We can find that. We know that cosine, let's write it right here, cosine of t is equal to the x, which is 2 square root of 6 over 5. So we can use that. Okay, now let's do the same thing for sine, sine of s. So if I now use, try to find sine of x, I know that cosine of s is 4 over 5. So over here, I'm going to draw a picture for that because I know cosine as s is 4 over 5. The same idea that what we did here, because cosine we know is x over r. We know that again, s is in quadrant 1. So here's quadrant 1. Draw a triangle. We know this is 4 over 5. We did this in chapter 1. And we can find y in the same fashion. We know that x squared plus y squared is r squared. Plugging in the 4 and the 5, we would get 16 plus y squared equals 25, y squared equals 9, or y equals 3. So we know this is a 3. So now if I come in here and want to know what sine of s, which is what we were trying to find in the first place, we know that is y over the r. We can use that as well. So now using our original information and that, we can put it all together and find the cosine of s plus t. So let's go ahead and rewrite that below here, where we rewrote the actual formula, and now we can just plug in all of our answers. We know that cosine of s is 4/5, so let's copy that as well, since I have to scroll up and down. So I copied it right here. And notice those are the same values as what I had here. So using all this information, I can now find cosine of s. We know that is 4/5. Cosine of t, I found that over here. 2 square root of 6 over 5 minus sine of s, which we found is 3/5, and sine of t we originally had is a 1/5. So the answer is 8 square root of 6 over 25 minus 3 over 25. And you can put that into one fraction, which is 8 square root of 6 minus 3 all over 25. Now let's do the same thing, because if you scroll back up, the original asked to find cosine of s minus t. So let's write down the formula for that. If you notice here that the formula for a minus b and a plus b is the same except for a minus sign. The plus has a minus and the minus is plus. So cosine of s minus t would be the same as this but with a plus. Cosine of s, cosine of t plus sine of s, sine of t. And again, plugging in all this information, you can scroll up just a little bit, because we know cosine of s is what again? Where is that at? Cosine of s. Oh yes, it's originally given. That's 4/5 times cosine of t, which we found is 2 square root of 6 over 5. In fact, everything should be the same here. 3/5, sine of s is 3/5, sine of t is 1/5. So it should be the same except for with a plus. 8 square root of 6 plus 3 all over 25.